Hello and welcome to the Relax It's Retirement podcast with your host, Josh Leonard, where we talk about transitioning into retirement with intent. I'm Wendy McConnell. Well, hey there, Josh. How are you?
I'm wonderful today, Wendy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm seeing that there's potentially some guests, or
we have
am I seeing things?
A pretty full conference room today. Lots of chords and two wonderful guests. So Julie is someone that we've worked with for a few years, and Julie reached out to me earlier this year to share with me Pine Valley Camp. So we are blessed to also have Matt here, or Mr. Matt. Mr. Matt officially, who's the director of Pine Valley Camp, to talk about what they do at Pine Valley Camp and how those transitioning into retirement can either support or, like Julie, become directly involved.
Thanks for having us, Matt. Josh.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming, Matt, too. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
So let's jump into it right away. I mean, Matt, why did you get involved with Pine Valley Camp?
Yeah, great question. I grew up in a church that was very mission-minded.
Okay.
And a business dad, mom and dad, who are God-fearing and very intentional. So my dad always said, Matt, life is a relationship. And so he was very relational, very successful in sales, and I had a good life. But as God would have it, we encountered, both my wife and I, in our growing up, encountered children at a camp that we went to up north, Seneca Hills, from the Mars Children's Home. And we just had a heart for the disadvantaged, the disenfranchised, the broken to single mom families. So we, in God's sovereignty, came to Pine Valley over 30 years ago to start this camp. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So did you start volunteering, or what was like your initial engagement? Did you lick envelopes?
I did for my father, yes. I actually did stickers on the catalogs for him.
Okay, perfect.
Every Saturday morning.
Wendy, before we jumped on, we were talking a little one-on-one on how I got involved in the business, and that's what we were saying. Well, I started licking envelopes. That was like my first gig.
Yeah, they have those little strip things now with the sticky. You don't have to lick them anymore.
Well, Wendy, let me tell you. If you're a small business, though, do not buy those. They are way too expensive. It's way cheaper to have kids and make them lick the envelopes.
Yeah, that sounds cheaper.
Yeah, and I was one of four boys, and my dad, I was the second son. My dad instilled a work ethic in us. He had a garden. He was able to be off in the summers because he sold to schools. So he had us working every day. He also encouraged us to read the Bible, and he paid me for it.
He paid? Oh, wow. That is a real salesman dad right there.
Yeah, that incentivized me, yes.
Yeah.
So I've done that for my kids and my grandkids now.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm going to probe on that because now we're in financial lessons already. I like this. With kids, what other financial incentives have you seen work to encourage either or the faith or good habits, right? We can't really work as young children, but what other sources of encouraging good financial habits with kids have you seen?
For my own children, we have 5 children, and they're all grown, and we have 31 grandchildren now.
Oh my gosh!
So we have a big clan, and camp was like a farm. So we had the 4 seasons, and there was always something to do. We had guest groups that came in. So when we first came to Pine Valley, it was just a small camp. It was actually ready to go under. And the board was going to sell it to a local church, and shared our vision to rebuild broken lives through Christ, and had this heart to serve the underserved kids. And so the board pretty much gave us the freedom to do what we needed to with it. And so our 5 kids were really helped us. We homeschooled them for a while. They'd go to public school later, but they always had chores to do. So, and then with the little bit that I would pay them, back then, $1 an hour or $3 an hour, they would have to give 10%.
I like it,
and save 80%.
Yep,
and spend 10%.
Yes, I like it. I like it. Those are good habits.
Yeah.
We've talked. A couple of guests and one close friend did what he referred to as the dad 401k of like, hey, we're gonna match to encourage that savings too, because I think especially as kids, as many adults do too, we get in the bad habit of. This is what I got, so I can spend it all.
My dad never gave me an allowance. He had equipment, though. So he said, I will rent my equipment, my leaf blowers, my tractors, and you go out and make money from the neighbors. So I had yard businesses when I was like 12 years old.
Pete and I were just talking this morning. His son is 15, going to be 16 in the fall, and school is done here soon. And I'm like, so is he cutting grass? What's he doing? And my dad, when I was, I think, 12 or 13, he goes, I don't know, I wanted a bike or a skateboard or something. And he goes, oh, okay. You have a computer, a printer, and you can borrow my lawnmower. Go figure it out. Right. And that was sort of the path of go find a way to earn something.
I had a paper route. Does that count?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Paper
We don't
route
do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't think kids do paper routes at all at this point.
I don't think there's a paper anymore.
Yeah.
Well, there are.
Well, yeah, limited,
online.
maybe only
Yes.
weekend
And online.
delivery.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what I think on your website it had referenced as a place to belong. Can you tell me a little bit more about how kids find camp and find their way through camp? What is some of the most rewarding kind of situations that you found through
the mission of Pine Valley is, first, every kid should go to camp. That's my belief. I went to camp as a kid. I believe every kid should go to camp, and it's can be a life-changing opportunity, especially for kids who don't get out of the city. And so these children, in regards to coming to camp, we want to instill some core values: faith, family, and fun. Faith in Jesus Christ. We're very specific there. But family is formative. God's family is restorative. So think about it. The children that we're serving, 80% no dad.
Okay.
And a lot of times they're living with grandma.
Yeah.
So like one of my stories is a little girl, first time she came, said, my life was kind of hard because when I was 3, my mom died. Dad's out of the picture.
Yeah.
I went to live with grandma and my aunt, and then my aunt got arrested for drugs and put in prison. And then, so then my grandma got sick with cancer. So I went into the foster care program.
Oh, geez.
So these are the typical kind of story for a lot of our kids, why we do what we do. But we're bringing them in to give them hope for the future and to say that the life that they're experiencing wasn't necessarily the way God, it wasn't God's plan, but he gives us choice. Life is choice. Right. My dad would always say, you can choose your choices.
Yeah.
Can't choose consequences of the choices.
That's right.
So I think about that. So good choices, good consequences, bad choices. So we're trying to help these kids to see there's a different way out there. So it's very basic. It's very simple in regards to the mission of Pine Valley. Just kids, fun builds a bridge.
Sure.
To the
Absolutely.
If you want to be a good dad or granddad, get down and play with the kids.
Yeah.
So my big question is, what are we going to do for fun? Camp's a great tool
to
do that. My wife says that love is spelled Time.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So she hangs, she listens, she has the ear of a counselor. She's very wise, right?
Yes.
I say love is spelled Play.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have a ski boat, we have a pontoon boat, we have horses, we have bikes and corkles and a swimming pool and a water slide. And
all the good summer stuff.
Bumper. Yeah. Summer. Yeah, it is fun. Camp is fun.
So are they more fun-based? Do you have education? Like, are you learning about nature in that more, or just playing time and play?
It's both. So creation is a powerful preacher.
Okay.
No man can deny. So we get the kids away from their screens, unplugged from that, put them away for the week, and then we do real FaceTime.
Yeah.
Talk about that. And then they also, by living in community, a temporary community, they're learning how to simple, basic things. We do cabin cleanup every day.
Okay.
A lot of these children don't know how to make their beds. They brush their teeth every day. So we encourage that. They don't even necessarily, so they're doing soapy showers and brushing their teeth and making their beds, learning how to sit at a table and ask. And again, a lot of the kids know that, but just as far as learning how to share and get along, cooperate with each other.
Yeah.
So as far as the education part is more experiential. It's the non-cognitive skills, helping them to be motivated. So one of the incentives that we give is for cabin cleanup. The winning cabin for that day gets the golden sneaker.
Okay.
On their table, and then
is it a spray painted sneaker? Okay,
it's not real gold.
Is it like an Air Jordan, or is it a cool sneaker?
It's probably a lost and found sneaker.
Okay, yeah.
So, but then at the end of the week, the winning cabin that has the highest score gets to go to get ice cream.
I like it.
So there's an incentive there for them to try to succeed there.
Awesome. Sounds fun. I'm in. I'll go.
Yeah, come on out. Yeah, come on out. Bring your family.
We would certainly love to visit. I know for our kids, we've spent a lot of time on Lake Erie, so That's something that we've shared. And actually, I think when we first started working together, we were on Kelly's Island.
Yes.
And for me as a kid, that was always my favorite week. We would go camping up there, and you're just in nature. You spend all day at the lake, playing in the sand, going for a hike in the woods. Our kids do a week of summer camp up there every year. And it's amazing. I mean, they're dissecting fish at like 6 and 8, and they are fully engaged, which again is away from the screens, a little bit more disconnected, and they can reroute back to nature a little bit. Julie, how did you get involved?
Actually, it was inadvertently a friend of mine asked if I knew of someone who could fill a position at Pine Valley. And
Okay.
I didn't know what Pine Valley was. I had never heard of it before. So I did a little research, found it, and thought, well, maybe I could do that. So that's how it all started. And I've gone out there, did an interview, read what I read, and liked what I saw.
Yeah.
And
She's been a big help.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm just starting. I'm learning. I'm learning. There's a lot to learn, but yeah.
The whole idea about life being a relationship is that I call them supporters, not donors. These are people that come alongside and help us. We could not do what we do if it wasn't for people who have a heart. I heard a statistic that in all the missions and ministries that are out there, of the wealth that's out there, only 10% of the people actually give to nonprofits. The other 90% don't.
Of people in general, or of
people who have means.
Oh, wow.
People who have been very successful that have it, but are holding on to it. And this was from a seminary professor who himself comes from a family of substance, and they have been very generous to us for the 30 years.
Yeah.
And so his challenge was, hey, listen, if you've been blessed, then get blessed.
Share. Yeah.
Share
yeah.
that.
And I think we talk a lot about it with retirees as well, because that's who we tend to work with, people preparing and transitioning into retirement is, retire with intent, right? What are you going to do in that next chapter? Right. If, sometimes it's more so for men, but you identify with your occupation. And once you lose that occupation, what are you going to do all the time? And newsflash, watching Fox News full time is not a way to have a happy retirement, right? You're going to become depressed. You need to engage in something. So a lot of people find sort of this exponential joy out of volunteering, right?
Well, that's statistically accurate, because the people who do give, people who are generous, they do actually experience more joy. They're happier with what their life is. They're happier with what they do. And so it's that what's that excreted that you get when you
serotonin. Serotonin.
It actually
it's a big serotonin.
Yeah, it is. It's a big serotonin.
We call it transcendence.
Yeah.
Transcendence is having a transcendent cause. When you're living for something greater than your own personal happiness, true joy comes to those who live for something bigger than themselves. And so we're all looking for a cause and a mission, right? Yeah. And so when you give of yourself, there is something that is released inside that gives you that joy and that happiness. Yeah. And we couldn't really do what we do if it wasn't for people. We have a thing called Retired Tuesdays.
Retired Tuesdays.
So
okay.
Men and women who have been successful and have the time now come to our camp every week.
Okay.
From like 8 till 2. The ladies, not every week, maybe 2 out of the 4 weeks, and they'll help us in the office, and the guys are just tinkering. But we always have stuff to do. So if people are looking for things to do.
Okay.
After their retirement.
They can find your contact information on the website, right?
PineValleyCamp.org.
Perfect. All right. We will link that in the show notes as well, but that's a great opportunity. We sort of keep an inventory when we're talking to people on transitioning into retirement, and hey, here are some causes. Pete and on our advisory team does Reading is Fundamental in the city too, where he goes and reads to kids, and it's almost like a big brother, big sister kind of thing, where it's not always about reading, as I'm sure camp isn't always exactly about camp sometimes. Right. It's being, a mentor or someone to help guide them in a way that maybe they're not getting at home or in their normal situations.
And on the reading part, on the education part, one of the things, because we are a Christian camp, where each kid gets a Bible and we encourage them. So I've actually, for my campers, have given them the opportunity to say, hey, for every book you read in the New Testament, I'll pay you $5.
Okay.
So the same thing that my dad has done for me. But as far as the education part, we want them to understand that there's a God who loves them and sees them, and that the pain that they're experiencing wasn't his plan, but he sent them to Pine Valley and our shepherds. We have 5 key relationships, and our shepherds are one of those that are with these kids throughout the years. And people are like, what do you do with the kids after they're there for a week? Well, our key, they're either coming from families, but mostly from these ministries that are with the kids throughout the year. And so that's been we're working with them to follow up with them
to continue on.
Okay. And so what we see is because you have adults, even though they might be coming from some brokenness, you have loving, caring adults who are investing in them. You have so much a better chance of succeeding and finishing high school.
Yeah.
And actually graduating and making good choices. So we're helping to encourage them to kind of open their eyes to a whole other world that's out there.
I think that time that you said, time and play, makes so much. I even my own kids, right? At 6 and 8, it's like, when you're too busy as a parent and you're not paying attention, that is when they misbehave because they're bored. And now my oldest son, Eli, vocalizes that quite clearly. He's like, Dad, I'm bored. And I'm like, oh, you're right. I'm too busy trying to do this, that, and the other, right? So it is that intentionality around, hey, we are dedicating that time. And sometimes I think that attention gets a lot more, positive reaction than you might think.
That word was a swear word in our home. I said, if you're bored, life is what you make it. So let's figure out how you can.
Well, and I think that's it. As you get older, it's like the idea of being bored to me is so foreign. There's the list keeps growing, right? I mean, I never have time to be bored. But so I guess I'm going to pivot back to Julie on this one then with being bored. I mean, you are in the fortunate position now where you don't have to work a full-time job, to pay the bills, right? You're in a fortunate position there. You have the opportunity to do things that you choose. What made you choose, Pine Valley? What attracts you there and is energizing for you?
Well, I guess I'm just going to give credit to my grandparents, who are both immigrants, and I always saw they never had money, but I always saw them feeding other people, bringing people into their homes in any way that they possibly could. And then my parents also were first-generation college students, graduates, and my dad would work for AARP, or they'd be very involved in the church, or they would do different things. And so that was something I wanted to do with my kids. And I did. I whether they were doing sports or whether they were doing other activities, we always made sure that there was time for service. And then I retired. We moved to Pittsburgh, and then you retire in your life. And then it's like, okay, well, now it's all about me. But I really found like something was just missing. I was still involved with the church, but it just wasn't my pick of things. And what drew me to Pine Valley more than the kids, which I know that sounds heartless, but more than the kids was at one time in our lives, I had my 3 kids, and they were probably like 5, 7, 8 years old, all boys, very active. And my husband had a job out of the country. He was gone for 3 months, and I was raising them by myself. And it was so hard. I remember one night, after 2 months of him being gone, I just broke down, started crying, called him. I'm like, you've got to come home. But my point being is that what I was really attracted to were the single parents, giving them a break, offering them an option. Some of these people had no choice, and they're in this situation. Others of them have made poor decisions, poor choices. But that was what drew me to it. It really was. It's like offering them an opportunity for a break, for some reprieve. And you can't be both the mother and the father, or it's difficult to play both of those roles. And so to have mentors, male mentors that some of these Children may not have, even female mentors that some of these Children may not have, it was just, I also saw it as, the proverbial building the fence and taking care of the situation now versus calling the ambulance in later to pick up what hasn't been done.
I think that like camp to me or anything outdoors has this empowering feeling of, oh, I can do that. So whether it's, I think you said you have a boat, so maybe like water skiing for the first time or literally building a fence.
Right.
Horses, they get on a horse for the first time.
Yeah.
They do a climbing we do swim lessons. A lot of these children don't know how to swim, so we'll do swim tests. And actually that week they're trying to go from red to yellow to green.
Okay.
And so they're working on that.
Yeah.
Like,
But some of these kids really, they just need to know that there is something out there greater than their problems, something out there that is greater than all the obstacles that they face, because some of those obstacles I cannot relate, I just can't even relate to. So it's not just for now. It's not a solution for now. It's to make them better servants to the Lord, to community, to make them better parents, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know the love of the Lord, or you don't know that there is someone out there that you can turn to in your time of need, how do you know?
Yeah.
So I think in the long term, it helps them. It helps the next generation. It helps the next generation. And that's just what we pray for. And Matt has a great quote. It's something like, it's not our, what did you tell me this morning? It's not our job our job is to get to them, and it's the Lord's job to take them from that point forward,
Right. It was a quote that I heard this morning, actually, from Mike Johnson, and it was from John Quincy Adams. So I wrote it in my quote book: "Duty is ours, results are God's."
Okay.
There you go.
Duty
That's
is
right.
ours.
Yeah.
Results are ours. So our duty is to be faithful to these kids, to give them hope. So, so like Julie's saying, these children, a lot of them they think this life is normal. So the answer to the question of healing, one of the ways that we see kids being healed is by them being able to share their reality, their life. We do man night and ladies night. So we define what it means to be a godly man, a godly woman. So we separate the camp, and the guys go out hiking and we eat steak and
stereotypically man stuff. Yeah.
We make our barbarian yelps. Ladies are eating, chocolate fountains and having fun, chicken.
Okay.
They do that. I don't know what ladies do. I don't go watch. But
You're not allowed to know.
Not allowed to know. But the next day then, we have the campers. We'll have some of our, we've been at this for 30 years. So 40% of our staff are former campers.
Okay.
So we'll have them share their story, their journey, how Pine Valley and their shepherds and just their journey, how they've been able to overcome, because they encourage the younger children. So these kids will open up and share their burdens, and the campers will come around and comfort them. And by getting that off their chest, because they think up to that time, I'm the only one that's experiencing this.
Yeah.
But when they bring it into the light, then there's healing. Healing begins, and we see that year after year after year, kids keep coming back, and we see them throughout the year too, because we have a monthly choir.
So if you have like a new camper this year, and are all campers sponsored, or what is sort of the different tiers? How do kids come into camp? I guess let's start there.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Me answer that? Okay. So I would say the primary way that they come to camp has been through these shepherds, and it's been because of COVID, word of mouth now. So it's
through the community of
people just hearing about it.
Okay.
As far as how they're sponsored, they pay $40.
Okay.
It costs us about $9.50 for each child. So it's the generosity of God's people who help us. People, organizations, churches that help us to fund this, and we couldn't do it without them. And so we never turn a kid away because of money. Come and more recently, we're like, regardless of income, single moms, as Julie was saying, have a hard go at it. Sure, you realize that we had our choir at a local church. One of the boys was in the choir. And his mom her husband had just left the year before, and she had 3 kids. And she said, I had to downsize. I went out in the parking lot. She had a big excursion, downsized to a Jeep, but she said, I couldn't afford it because I think the husband's not helping. And so we had let her come in, and she said, what do I owe you guys? We're like, it's covered. Don't worry about it. She said, oh, what a relief that was. Yeah. So she's going to send her other 2 kids too. So we couldn't do that if we didn't know that people were going to be behind us.
So do most kids come for a week, or is it a multi-week? Okay.
We want to get as many in as we can. So we're trying to get back up to 700 since COVID. We were at 740 before COVID.
Okay.
So we are at 600 the past 2 years. So
awesome.
It's looking like a full summer.
And it's all word of mouth. You're not doing any, or is it through churches in the area as well?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any way we can.
Right. That's right.
And I understand that some of our the kids that come are from incarcerated. They generally have a parent who's incarcerated or have a parent who's incarcerated. And it can be male or female.
Yeah.
Both can be single parents.
We're with Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree Christmas program. Those children that churches do this Christmas program for them, those same children are eligible to come to Pine Valley. There's a scholarship that Angel Tree helps us out with.
Awesome. So is Pine Valley all funded through donations from individual donors, or is it are churches helping to support too?
It's
Yes, and yes.
Conglomeration.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would say about 60-70% are from individuals.
Okay.
About
Wow.
15
That's wonderful.
foundations and 15 from businesses.
That's really cool. It's cool that the community can support the community getting better.
That's right.
Awesome. Share like a quick story of a kid maybe that it was hard to have hope in initially, and maybe they've engaged in different ways or were set on a better path.
A lot go through my head. First summer, sending home Keith's brother, and he said, "I'm going to go home too." And I said, "Keith, you're not in trouble. You don't have to go home. Look at all that's here: the pool, waterside, horses." He said, "You're gonna always do what your brother does." And he looked at his brother. He looked at the camp. He said, "I'm going to stay." And literally for a while, their lives went like this, totally separated. But eventually, his brother came around, where they both were making good choices, but he had a different path to go. I would say most recently, this last year, one of a guy now on my maintenance, who's doing my maintenance for me, grew up as a camper, and is on our staff, helped out in leadership, did an intern program with us, was living with us last year when he left his mom's house to get out on his own, and lived with us since last May. And just in January or in February, there was a need for our maintenance director had stepped down, and so he stepped into it. So one of our own campers is now my maintenance director.
That's awesome. Is he growing into the role well?
Yes, he's 21 now.
Okay.
And he's very competent, and he's doing a great job.
That's awesome.
And we had no idea that was going to work out that way.
Yeah.
But he went to the Newcastle School of Trade for auto mechanics, and I'm like, you need to work in the auto mechanics field for a while. But then this opportunity came up, so we're like, we'll use it.
We'll take it. He can work on all the machinery, right?
I have a couple of letters here. I haven't been to camp yet, so I haven't seen these kids, but they asked the kids to write a letter to God, and they showed several of them to me, and I just took a couple. But one of them says, "Thank you for being closer to me through your word and the people surrounding me. It's hard for me to trust people a lot because the people in my life had led me away from you a lot. They have hurt me emotionally, mentally, and physically, and I've had trouble trusting myself and a lot of self-doubt. And I don't think that I'm actually important or that the words in the Bible refer to me, but to somebody else. That's why it's hard to pray, because sometimes I would be scared that you wouldn't help me or respond. But this week, I have seen you more than ever before. Thank you for my counselors. Thank you for the kids at Pine Valley. And thank you for helping me. I might be ending this letter, but I'm still praying. Your daughter."
Oh.
That was one of them. That was really cool. And I have one more just real quick.
Yeah, sure.
I want to thank you for waking me up every day, bringing food to my family, and giving me life. The Bible is honestly very confusing to me, but I'm trying my best to understand it. I'm gradually trying to grow in my faith and build a better relationship with you. The way that you want us to defy the laws of the world is difficult, but I'm trying my hardest. So please be patient with me. All I ask is that you guide me to be closer to you, your son. And I just thought those were really pretty good.
It's amazing. So are you asking kids to write the letter at the end, or is that non-prompted feedback?
No, we ask them.
Okay.
We ask every camper to write a Dear God letter.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to hear what's on their hearts.
Sure.
And what they're thinking.
It's funny because kids are really honest. Like, as adults, we're like, "Oh, yeah, camp was fantastic. Thank you, God." But kids, I'm having a hard time, I heard, which is, I'm having a hard time understanding the Bible, right? Like, that's honest. Good. Honest. Okay. Learn more. Right.
Yeah. Even that story I told earlier about the girl having a hard life. She said it got really hard because, not only did my mom die, my aunt died from an overdose and my grandma died from the cancer, but my brother's been with me through all the ups and downs. You made me for a reason. You made me strong, and I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. That was our theme that year. So these kids, as young as they are, and they're experiencing life, but not a life that any of us should experience, but they are, and we're helping them to filter that and to give them hope. Our theme verse is the plans. I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. He was talking to Israel, to the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
But he said to give you a future and a hope, not for evil, but for good, to give you a future and a hope. So we're telling these kids, hey, listen, there is a God. He didn't make you. Creation screams it. If you're willing to acknowledge that, you can break the cycle. And that's our hope.
That's it.
Yeah.
Break the cycle of the brokenness. And we're seeing that. We've been here 30 years now. It's a legacy of life change. It is a place where we're seeing hope instilled into the hearts of these young kids who are now young adults.
So so camp has been in existence for 30 years. Where do you hope to see it in 30 years from now?
Great question. So the vision for the future, because we're investing a lot of money, over $5 billion just into this dining hall. When we're all said and done, we'll probably invest about $8 million total into this property.
Wow.
So how do we steward that? Well, we want to be missional. We want to invite the church, the body of Christ, to come and serve the families of our children throughout the year. So the summer program is awesome. We get lots of kids. These moms are struggling. So we want to bring them out with the kids, have a kids program for them, and just serve these women for a weekend.
Okay.
And have people fund that and serve. Have the men do the cooking and the cleaning, and because most of these are single moms, have the women come out and be the counselors, be the wraparounds,
Okay.
be the one-on-ones.
To be able to have that time to spend.
Common neutral ground at a camp.
Yep.
You might not go into those neighborhoods. You might
Sure. Yeah.
might never come to your church or to your neighborhood, but this is common ground where we can come together and help make a difference. That's the hope. That's the vision.
I love
for
it.
the future. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I'm sure work every day is exhausting, but also emotionally rewarding too. I look forward to hearing after the summer of camp. So right now, it's not summer yet, right? Schools are still in session. What are we doing now to prepare for camp? And Julie, in particular, what are you most nervous about?
Most nervous about. I actually, I'm not one of the counselors, so I will be seeing them. I think I'm anxious about probably the children when they leave,
Okay.
thinking about them having to go back into that environment, go back into where they came from. And so that's a little stressful. I look forward to one of my jobs, one of my responsibilities is to take some of our sponsors, some of the people that donate to us and the givers, and to bring them out to camp. I really want them to, so that's what I'm looking forward to, because, we've already discussed the fact that people who are generous in what they do, they have this joy. So I am looking forward to seeing their faces, to seeing the joy in what they contribute, what they give to us, and seeing how it's being returned through our work, through what we do. And so, I'd love to take anyone who's interested, anyone who's considering, anyone who would like to see what we do and see it in action. We would love to give you a tour of our facility and let you be exposed to. You want to come?
I'll come. I would love to. I mean, I think it's something you had shared kind of early. As soon as you got involved, you were like, how can we help encourage? Because we talk about it with clients through our client events. We partner with local charities and nonprofits to kind of help the community. We just had our shred day where you can come and shred all your paperwork, and we collected cleaning chemicals through North Hills Community Outreach, right? To help people. Those are things like, to me, I just get frustrated when we run out of them, but I don't think of it as something that I might not have.
Right.
We have wood furnaces that you could throw that shredded.
There you go. Okay. Well, we'll partner with Shredded to get the pulp.
That's how we heat our buildings, with wood furnaces. And
Okay.
wood. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I got some pine trees after these storms that need to be cut down. So
bring it over. We'll burn it.
Okay. Perfect. But, we partnered last year with Variety, the children's charity, for our big client event at Narcissi Winery. And we raised over $15,000 through the companies that we work with, the company donations and client donations. And that supplied bikes to kids that were unable. So they're adaptive bikes. And at the event, we got to see some of the kids fitted for those bikes and ride on them for the first time, which was super cool to see. And I think for a lot of clients, it connects it with the actual work that's being done, what you're donating that money to, which I think sometimes people hesitate because they think, it's a scarcity mindset, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm afraid that I don't have enough. That's one of the biggest retirement concerns that we hear. And later on in retirement, sometimes we're like, go spend a little bit more. It's okay. Donate. And we talk about the tax efficiency of donating as well. At certain stages in retirement, it makes sense to donate, right? There are QCDs or certain, financial planning things that come into play that are tax advantageous as well. So being able to get multiple benefits from one thing is always a win-win. So,
and one of those benefits.
If you have appreciated stocks, we have the account.
There you go. Perfect. You are set up. Yeah.
But I'm just even going to say from a person perspective, you are young, and when you reach my age, your brain says you're still young, but like your body just doesn't respond like you're young. And so I think one of the benefits of being older, even though there's not very many benefits, some of the benefits of being older are, you have experience, you're not so caught up in social media and being influenced and having to worry about what other people think about you. And you can do things. You have what young people don't have. You have experience, you have some wisdom, you have some foundational, you just have a foundation that you can share with other people. So whether you give financially or whether you give in person through your talents or your treasure, that's a perfect opportunity to volunteer, to give money, and the fact that you're going to live 4 years longer than those who are not generous. Those are the stats.
That's a real stat. Yeah.
Might as well. Yeah. And do it now. Don't. If you are capable and you are financially able to give now and not wait until you die, you reap the benefits of that joy of seeing it.
We talk about it, giving with warm hands versus cold hands, right? Too many people think that, once I'm, and it can be for family or for faith or nonprofits, but we don't have to wait. It's not like all of a sudden, great, now everything's transferred. Actually, we see more, and from the personal perspective, maybe it's taking grandkids on vacation, right?
Right.
You're going to spend more money, but you have that time that is precious. I think volunteering works the same way. It's like now you're retired, you have more time because, really it's 40 if you commuted an hour in and out of the city. Maybe it's 50, maybe you worked a lot, maybe it's 80 hours a week that now has freed up in your life. You can certainly find some time, even if you don't have the financial means, to get out there and donate that time to people to help, share your lessons too. Right. I think that's it. Whenever you're younger, you have less time to reflect.
Right.
As you get older, you have more time to reflect on those lessons that you've learned, maybe the hard way at times, and being able to share those with others, and then finding an avenue, which I think camp is an interesting one, to have shared lessons together, because nobody, like my boys, I'll be like, I need to talk to you for a minute, and I know they're shutting off as soon as I say that, right? Yep. They need to learn too. I think especially for boys, I played soccer, and we were out at Pizza Hut after a game that we had won. All the boys were really excited. And the server came out and said, "The dish is hot. Don't touch it."
Oh boy!
Like half the team touches it, right? Like boys, I don't know, have to learn hard lessons. So great, camp is a a safe environment where they can take some risk and learn a hard lesson, without it being detrimental to their future.
We'll definitely stretch them. Take them out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Green, yellow, and red. So we want to get them in the yellow zone.
Yeah.
But I think too, I'm of the belief that, when you're in a position of where you can help financially, you think you need me, but I believe they need us. Like, in other words, people who have the means to give, whether it be money or their time, is that they need us as much, if not more, as we need them. It's symbiotic.
Yeah.
We need each other. And when we're on mission and on a cause, there's that sense of well-being and that you're, and there's that community. We have so like when our retired guys come, there's 8 to 12 guys that come every Tuesday, and same with the ladies. There's a sense of community, so you're not alone and isolated. They look forward to just and the work is the excuse to come, and they get stuff done, but they're have long coffee breaks. And
there is a lot of coffee, I'm sure.
Right, pastries and stuff like that. So we need each other. We got to do this together, and life isn't over till it's over. Right?
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we want to help people keep functioning and serving and using their gifts and talents.
I love that. Yeah, I think clearly the work that you're doing comes with a lot of heart. And we talk internally and with clients preparing for retirement about retiring with intent, living with intent. When I say living with intent, thinking through the lens of camp, what comes to mind for you?
And as far as being intentional, everything that we do at the camp is intentional. We want these kids to realize, like, there's principles behind everything that we're doing here to stretch them, get them out of their comfort zone, and let them know that they're safe. They don't have to fight their own battles. There's a different, like, they're going to get 3 meals a day. So I think when people come in, like, we have a thing called Summer Serve. We intentionally do that so that people outside of our ministry can come in. There's usually small groups of 10 to 15 that will come in and serve a meal. And it's a way for them to engage. And we tell and a lot of times they're our supporters. And so we'll tell the campers, because the campers don't always get to meet the people who are funding them. Say, hey, you guys are able to be here because of these folks who gave to you. And now they're here to serve you a meal. And then they do the dishes and they clean up. And then they bring a snack. And then they sit down with the cabin after the cabin has done their soapy showers. And they get to hear them, we call it reflectorate. They get to hear about their day. So we're very intentional that way. How can we get people involved to be engaged with our campers? And that's where we do the second season with the Light of the City Choir. We'll go to local churches and for, again, a way for people to engage, be intentional. But nothing happens without planning, right?
Yeah.
Or without work. Everything. So I say to the kids, I'll say to the guys on Man Night, nothing here, everything that's been given here has been donated. And you think about it, we're kind of the last line of defense. Most families, they have their own families, their own churches, their own camps, their own missions. The thing at Pine Valley is that a lot of the families that support us can't send their kids, but they have a mission heart and they want you to have that experience. And so they have sacrificed what they could have given to their family, their kids, they're giving here to you. And you might never meet them, but this is where we do the Summer Serve. But just know there's people here that love you and care about you and want you to have a second chance in life.
Yeah. I think especially in your youth and as you grow up, we think about the idea of transitioning into retirement a lot, that things happen because of you, not to you, right? This is a realm of control. There's a ton out of our control, but we can take certain steps to put ourselves on a better path. I think as you're growing up too, right? There's a lot of key decisions that we can make, or mistakes that we make, and having that trusted fallback on, or someone to know that maybe they're more productive resources is certainly a blessing. So,
and my idea, being retired and not having planned this and living with intent in terms of Pine Valley, is, I feel the intent that I have is that what I do is not short term. And I talked about this already. So I intentionally look to spend my time and my retirement and my resources in something that is going to benefit long term. That's going to be better for the society, better for community, better for everything. And Mr. Matt has his love for these kids, and you can hear it in his voice and the way it is. But from an outside coming in, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to get involved and I'm going to spend my time, how is it going to benefit the world, my community, in the long run? And I see that, filling a gap where these children have a need, that's our future. That's our generation. And we have to address that, because we're either going to pay now or we're going to pay later. Yeah. If they are imprisoned or in trouble or uneducated or whatever the case may be. So let's deal with it now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's amazing. One family, one kid, it all steps at one, right?
Yes.
Too many times we're focused on, the whole country, the whole world, but our community is the best place to start something. Our city, I think you reach out, I'm sure, throughout the greater Pittsburgh area or the families.
PA in Eastern Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We get kids from Cleveland also.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. Good. Yeah. So you are having an increasing impact there. So we need to wrap up here, but most importantly, we had talked a little bit before and we had touched on it throughout. I think two of the ways that you guys are seeking donations to help further the cause is through sponsorship of summer camp. Yes. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so every kid that comes is on a scholarship, and they pay $40, and the rest is raised by the camp. So it's about $9.50 per child.
Okay.
And then on top of that, then we're also building a dining hall. We always have building projects. We've been building for 30 years.
Yep.
I could show you all the different projects. The first building that we had was a house that was donated 15 miles away. We tore it apart, moved it in 2 pieces.
Oh my God.
Put it back together.
Oh wow.
We've been building ever since, and God continues to provide. So there's both for the camp scholarships and then also for the capital. We still need around $2 million for the capital. We've raised about almost $3 million, both in cash and gifts in kind.
Oh,
and
wow.
the dining hall is about 2/3 of the way done.
Yeah, so in the dining hall, which is my project, I'm going to say if you have a means for resources, we're always open for that. We've had a lot of people donate. We've had windows, doors, kitchen appliances, decking, a lot of things donated. So we're open for donations. If you have the contact or the information, if you don't have the financial means, but you have the resources, we're also very interested if someone has access where we pay cost, and then we can proceed with this. So, COVID hit us hard in doubling your expenses and for building, and so we would just really like to get that done.
Oh,
so,
for any suppliers
for
or someone?
suppliers,
Okay.
yes.
Oh,
For any
wonderful.
suppliers,
Okay.
we can take donations that way. But most importantly, we would love to have you come out to see the place, because once you see it, I think your heart will be there.
I think sometimes when you see a place too, you can find your place to
Yes.
help.
Yes.
Julie, I'm sure you've probably seen some of that here, but maybe someone comes out and can volunteer some time to help in the building of the hall as well. What would you say if someone's thinking about donating? What's that final step to take the leap to donating? What would you say to that person? What would you do to encourage them to make a donation?
I would say that number one, it's good for you. It's good for your health. It's good for your demeanor. It's good for you as a person, but it's phenomenal for what you will gain, what you give, and then what you're going to gain in return. I would say find something, like you said, match your heart with what you want to give. And if you don't give to Pine Valley, I suggest you go out and find a place, because there are a lot of great places for generous people to be, and we're not the only one. We'd love to have you. We want you, but I think the bottom line is have a generous heart and take advantage of the gifts that God has given you now and share them. Don't hoard them.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Let me say this as the preacher part of me, okay?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
these are the words of Jesus. He says, "What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and to forfeit his soul? For what shall man give or woman in exchange for his soul?" So, we can't take it with us.
Sure.
The most important thing for any of us is, do you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, who claimed to be the Messiah, the Son of the living God, who wants a relationship, and he made himself known through creation. That's why I love camp. And so that's available to any and all who will believe and receive and become. To many has believed on him, then he gave the power to become the sons of God or daughters of God. Think about that. We can be God's son or daughter to those who believe and call on his name. So the name of Jesus, he's the matchless name. I know that can be offensive, but that's because it's true.
Yeah.
And so that would be my thing, is like, hey, because life is short. We're not going to live forever here, but we're going to live forever.
Yeah.
And my heart is, where are you going to spend eternity?
Yeah.
And I want you in heaven with me.
Sure.
And so does Jesus. And that's why Christ came.
Yeah.
And we just celebrated Easter. He came, he who knew no sin. He the sinless sacrifice. He became sin so that we can escape and live with him forever. So to me, lay up your treasure in heaven.
Yeah.
Give him your heart. That's the most important thing. And then the rest will follow.
Yep.
The rest will follow.
Yeah. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining. Thanks for sharing. Julie,
you, Josh.
thanks for bringing Matt to us and sharing as well. Hopefully we can help you out in furthering your cause. Wendy, thanks for jumping on, emceeing today. And until next time, guys, remember to retire with intent so you can live your golden years with the happiness and excitement you deserve.